This is Bob Sansevere here with Brian Murphy and Pioneer Press Deputy Sports Editor John Plyum. Let's get right to it. A little wild talk. These guys, what are the chances? Is it much more than 1% that they can make the postseason?
1.1%.
1.1 is it?
I mean, this is a team that hasn't won consecutive games for 6 weeks, hasn't won 3 in a row since November. And they keep talking about the urgency of now as if it's some commodity that they can just cash in on. They just have not been able to put anything together. Now, can they run the table? Of course. Dallas is pretty much out of it. Nashville and Columbus are pretty much locked into a playoff spot. Of course they can run the table.
But it won't be enough.
But it won't be enough because now you have 3 teams you're chasing that you need them to basically stumble. And, you know, they'll look back on probably a half dozen games over the year where they basically left a bunch of points on the ice and really couldn't, you know, they either blew games or blew opportunities to position themselves.
Beyond that, though, if I'm a Wild fan, I'm not real happy with Marian Gaborik when you're seeing how he's playing now. And they'd be in the postseason now had he not done the stupid thing that the way he got himself hurt. Was he playing some game of variation of soccer, kicking the ball over a net?
Hacky sack with a soccer
With
ball?
a soccer ball, yeah.
Well, I mean,
is there anger in the organization toward him for what he did and what he's done to this team?
Well, I think there's anger about the fact that they wanted him to go with an aggressive treatment in January rather than getting surgery, and they feel like he could have played at this level from January on. I think there's been a rift there that probably won't be able to heal. But again, a 70% Marian Gaborik, he's got 7 goals in 8 games since coming back. You got to imagine if he was playing in even 40 or 50 games that they would easily have a playoff spot.
Now, John, I want to ask both of you this, but Gaborik, A, you think he'll be back, and B, should they want him back?
I think they should want him back, but I don't think he comes back. I think if he was gonna be here, you would have signed that 8-year, $80 million, whatever kind of deal it was going to be. I mean, it was on the table for him. He didn't sign it. And now, I mean, it could cost him, millions of dollars because he had to sit out because of the injury.
Well, Brian, actually, I wanted to, what John had just mentioned, when you have a history of injuries like this guy, how cracked are you, or your agent, not to say take it?
Well, at the time, he was still in pretty good shape. This was still training camp.
Yeah, but he has a history of always getting hurt.
Yeah, but look at him right now. He's also positioned himself very wisely. He's positioned himself well for the free agent market because any team that's looking now sees, well, he came back, he's played about 10 or 15 games. He's basically been their best player, or at least their most productive player.
Well,
he's going to finish with a goal a game per average. If I'm a GM out there, he's had the second hip surgery that fixed the first one. He thinks he's pretty much done with this. Now, of course, we've heard that over and over. But, I mean, I don't see anybody else out there as dynamic on the market as he's going to be.
But whoever signs him, they better have, like some of these teams have these no skydiving, no variation of soccer, or no hacky sack soccer.
Well, he still has races as Ferraris in Slovakia. That could be more of an issue than anybody.
The guys that do come back and are here, who's going to coach him? Will it be Jacques?
No, I think he's gone too. I think if you just read between the lines and judge by his body language, this has probably been his most frustrating season, certainly in Minnesota. I think he, Risebrough did a hell of a job kind of talking him off the ledge last year. Unless Doug can convince him that he's going to be bringing in some heavy hitters and that they can get Gaborik re-signed, I honestly don't see Jacques coming back to muddle through another painstaking, maybe we make it kind of year.
And no question, Doug Risebrough's back. Brian, John, thank you very much. We'll see how this plays out in 1.1%.